Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. It is Tuesday, January 20th. This is Truth News. I am Walter Bass. And I know I said we might talk about the Charlie Kirk assassination, but I thought about it, and Candace Owens, Baron Coleman, Ian Carroll, they've got that covered, Coach Colin. So we're going to stick with the child sex trafficking by the government because my son's a victim of it. I personally experienced it. And I haven't seen or heard from my son since 2021 when he was kidnapped and violently sexually assaulted by State Judge Kelly Hansen of Marietta, California. And Kelly Hansen has 16 years of kidnapping, molesting, and selling children. And Kelly Hansen is a devout Mormon, which I'll be covering tomorrow on tomorrow's show. We will look into the Mormon faith and their abuse of children. Today, we're going to cover the Catholic abuse of children. As everyone knows, this has been, and I looked at this news story yesterday, it was Catholic child abuse crisis. It's a crisis in the Catholic cult, the abuse and rape of children. And we were talking about these cults and how the government's a cult, Hollywood, and they all seem to derive around one thing: sexual deviancy. I mean, when you look at it at the end of the day, Hollywood, the government, all this child trafficking, TPUSA, it all revolves around sexual deviancy of children. So let's talk about Catholic child abuse today, settlement payouts, bankruptcies of dioceses like St. Cloud, Winona, who sold their assets. They had to sell their assets to pay the victims. And we're going to get into some figures and dollar amounts of settlements. And it is staggering. I had no idea until I did research yesterday how much money the Catholic faith and these priests and or whatever that you want to call them, archbishops, are paying. It is staggering, it is sickening, and it is evil. So, and then we're going to close today with an overview of everything I've covered over the last 3 to 5 shows, and we're going to take a step back and look at the overall. So, the Archdiocese properties in Boston had to be sold because they were struggling to pay survivors of child abuse that they just keep doing. They keep abusing children. So the news article I read yesterday said the costs are exceeding billions with a B, billions of dollars in settlements to children being abused by Catholic priests. How many victims does that amount to? I couldn't get a victim number, and I have a feeling it's probably in the million. If they're paying billions of dollars, they've got to have, if not a billion victims, in the high hundreds of millions, tens of millions without a doubt. And the sad part about this is a sexually abused child is never the same. You stole their innocence, you stole their trust, you sexually perverted them. And what sexual abuse does to a child, and thank God I was never abused as a child, and I'm so grateful to that. And I had people who were abused as children, and the girls, believe it or not, and I hate to be stereotypical, but a lot of sexually abused girls usually end up in strip clubs or in horrible relationships with repeated domestic violence abusers. They date losers, alcoholics, drug addicts. A lot of girls end up on OnlyFans who were sexually abused. It's does something mentally and spiritually to them that is never the same. A sexually abused child is never the same, and rarely do they recover to live a full, productive, healthy life. I mean, look at the Epstein survivors. A lot of them have committed suicide. Virginia Giuffre being one of the most famous Epstein survivors. And this happened when she was a teenager into her late teens, early 20s. And at 40 something years old, I believe she was 42 or 44, she committed suicide. So 20 years, 20 plus years after the abuse, it was still eating and gnawing at her to the point where she took her own life, allegedly. So the Archdiocese, and this is one of the biggest settlements. I'm going to start with one of the biggest and we'll work our way through this. The Archdiocese of Los Angeles settled for $880 million in 2024. That is in Los Angeles, California. I'm going to say, other than Pedophile Hill in Washington, D.C., I'm going to say California is probably one of the biggest child sex trafficking hubs in the world. Between Hollywood, the corruption, the pay-to-play politics, all of the evil going on out there. So, and you know about the TPUSA pastors from Riverside County, Rob McCoy. There's another one, I did a story on him yesterday. But $880 million in 2024. That's one Catholic church, one archdiocese in Los Angeles. How many victims is that? How many lives have been ruined? And these people think you can just pay somebody money and it just makes everything better? I don't think so. I don't think women who are raped are ever the same again. And I don't think no amount of money would change anything about their psyche, the emotional trauma, the mental trauma that they will live with for the rest of their life. I don't understand how money equates to solving child abuse or repairing a child that's been sexually abused. Because in my mind, the damage is done. There's no coming back from that. So that's just one. And in 2009, the cost for settlements, legal fees, and jury awards compiled together in just the United States. Now, remind you, Catholics are worldwide. They are all over the world. In just the United States in 2009, it was above $2.6 billion, ladies and gentlemen. $2.6 billion. And that's settlements, which are well below what you get if you go to a jury trial. These are people who didn't want to go through the trauma, relive it, the stress, the time. They just took the easy way out. And I'm sure these Catholics and a lot of these child sex trafficking organizations always entice them to just take the easy way out, take the easy money, go away. So what? You got sexually abused when you were 7 years old or 8 years old. So what? You'll be fine. Get over it. Don't work like that. And this is sick and evil. So that was in 2009. It was $2.6 billion. In 2025, it was over $5 billion. So it's doubled since 2009 to 2025, which is 14 years. So in 14 years, they can't stop abusing children. The Catholics, the Archdiocese cannot stop sexually assaulting children. How long is this going to go on? And how long are we going to allow them just to pay money to children who were sexually assaulted or raped or worse, murdered, and just pay some money and go on like nothing ever happened? No jail time, no charges. This is an epidemic and is out of control. And it's running rampant in just the United States of America. Granted, this stuff is going on in other parts of the world. Don't get me wrong. But when it comes to child exploitation, child trafficking, child pornography, the United States of America by far is the number one place on planet Earth when it comes to financial profit, when it comes to the amount of material, child exploitation material, child pornography, child abuse. We are by far the number one place on planet Earth. And wait until we get to the end of this show. So the New York Archdiocese settled for $300 million in 2023, and that's per Cardinal Timothy Dolan. Does everyone know Cardinal Timothy Dolan? I do. He's at St. Patrick's Cathedral in New York City, near Rockefeller. I went in there. I've seen that place. I used to go there every year to see the Rockefeller tree. It's just a few blocks from St. Patrick's Cathedral, which is a beautiful, beautiful cathedral. It's amazing. The structure of it, the decor, absolutely amazing. And we have the most sick and perverted people inside some of the most cherished and holy places supposed to be in our nation. St. Patrick's Cathedral is very famous. So, and Cardinal Timothy Dolan is famous as well. He's been all over Fox News. He's been all over the media. I've seen this guy for years. And the fact that he is paying, or his archdiocese is paying $300 million in 2023 to settle sexually assaulting children. How can you even stand in a pulpit after that? How can you even put on a clergy outfit and go stand in front of a crowd of people who are looking at you to deliver the word of God, and you're supposed to be a trustworthy, honorable, upstanding member of the community? You're supposed to set an example, and the example you're setting is you can sexually assault children if you have enough money. And bring your children to church, please. We only just paid $300 million for assaulting children. Please bring the family on into our church. I don't think so. I don't think so. This is sick. These are settlements which are significantly lower than trial and real damages. And again, these are just notes that I take as I'm doing research on all this. I take notes for talking points, and everything just comes off the top of my head. So that being said, I've been involved in probably, 3 or 4 lawsuits. And I understand court very well. I've been in criminal court. I've been in civil court. I've been in custody court. I am well versed in court proceedings and law. I'm not a licensed lawyer. I'm no Baron Coleman by far. But I get the gist and the basics, and I'm really good at reading and researching. And I can read and write. And that's really all it takes to educate yourself. If you can read, write, and research, you can understand a lot. So what a settlement is when you file a lawsuit, generally the first thing that happens is the other party will either depose you, which means they want to see what you know, what they can use against you to try to get it tossed out of court. A deposition is where you sit with the other attorneys and they get to question you about things that might be relevant to the case. Usually what they're doing is fishing to see if they can get the case thrown out at deposition. Once you're deposed, generally, if you even make it to deposition, I know a couple of my lawsuits I had, they didn't even go to deposition. They just started throwing settlements. As soon as it was filed notice of intent to sue, the settlement process began and the negotiations began. And a lot of these settlements are literally pennies on the dollar for what you would get if you waited out and went to trial and drug it out. Granted, you would pay your attorney a lot more. I think when you do like a civil lawsuit or a civil lawsuit, you pay your attorney around 35%. But if it goes to trial, you'll pay your attorney 50% or more. So it costs a great deal more to go to trial, but you get a great deal more money. And what I mean by that is a settlement, let's just say hypothetically, I had a lawsuit for not paying overtime. My company was working me in New York City, unbelievable hours, 2 a.m, 5 a.m, Saturdays, Sundays, afternoon, early morning, just whenever they wanted me. And I kept disputing it with the owner of the company, saying, hey, this is not how it works. And I was trying to be nice. And eventually I told him, look, this isn't going to work. You either pay me overtime or put me on a salary and we'll figure this out. And his response was, I get you any time I want you. You work for me, whether you like it or not. So get up and go to work. And because of his attitude, his tone, and his demeanor, and he thought I was stupid because I have a southern accent and I was living in New York City when this happened. And he was very arrogant and cocky. I thought, okay, I'll show you. I might have an accent and you might think I'm dumb, but I'll show you. So I went and got an attorney and sued him. And the settlement was, I think, $40,000 is what we settled for. And if I would have stalled out, I probably could have got 100 to 150. Give it, that's a guesstimate. I'm not sure. But generally, you get a third on a settlement. You'll get a third to maybe even an eighth or a tenth of what you would get if you went to jury trial and you have a strong case and you can prove it. So the reason I say all that is because these settlements, which a lot of these sexual abuse survivors, they don't want to be blasted in the media. They don't want to relive this trauma over. They don't want to sit in a room full of strangers and have to tell the disgusting things that happened to them. Who did it? How many times they did it? Who would want to relive that? It's bad enough to go through it once. But to go through it during a deposition, to go through it with your lawyer, and then to go through it with juries, and then, the judge and a room of strangers, I don't blame them for taking settlements. I would never want to relive that trauma ever again. I call about my son every day. And every day it upsets me that I have to call all around this whole country, from California to Washington, D.C., attorneys. I call federal legislators. I call law enforcement. And every day I got to relive this trauma with my son being a victim of child sex trafficking. And it's torture and abuse, like the Epstein survivors. They keep having to relive this because nobody will just fix it. Nobody will just stop abusing children. I mean, Marie Farmer went to the FBI in, I believe, 1996. And it's 2026, and she's still having to tell somebody to help her. Still. And nobody's helping. This is sick, evil, it's ridiculous, and really it's unnecessary. All these people have to do is stop molesting children. That's it. That's it. We're not asking you to never eat meat again, become a vegetarian. We're not asking you to relocate your whole family and be apart from. Stop molesting children. How hard is that? I mean, it's unbelievable to me. I just can't. I just don't understand. It's got to be a cult. Like I said, the definition of a cult is what these people are. So after New York paid let me find the numbers here, $300 million in 2023 per Cardinal Timothy Dolan, they actually sued their insurance company for not paying damages. Can you imagine? That's how sick these people are. They go out, they get insurance, and they pay insurance, and then they start just rampantly sexually assaulting children for years and years and years, and the victims pile up and pile up and pile up. And finally, after so much, it all comes tumbling down. All these victims are coming out. And the church, remind you, the church, the Catholic Church, calls their insurance company and says, hey, you need to pay $300 or $400 million because we've been sexually assaulting children. If I was the insurance company, I would be like, $300 or $400 million. How many children have you sexually assaulted? How long has this been going on? And why didn't you let us know? We're your insurance company. You got to tell me what's going on. When you get auto insurance, you don't get to just switch cars. I have a Jeep. I can't switch to a Lamborghini and then go crash my Lamborghini without letting my insurance know, hey, I don't have the Jeep anymore. I got a Lamborghini. And that would be like me going and getting from a Jeep to a Lamborghini, not telling my insurance that I have a Lamborghini, going out and totaling the Lamborghini, and then expecting my insurance company to pay $500,000. They would be like, we didn't insure you for $500,000. You're insured for $20,000. That's the vehicle you had. Where's the $20,000 Jeep you had? Why are you driving around in a $500,000 Lamborghini? And insurance would be like, we're not paying that. No way. And New York is actually suing their insurance company, the New York Catholic Church, the Archdiocese, suing their insurance company saying, hey, we sexually assault children. You're our insurance company. You got to take care of this. And no, that's how sick and perverted these people are. Instead of just not sexually assaulting children, they blame the insurance companies for not paying damage. They blame the victims for talking about it. Why'd you have to tell somebody? Why'd you have to go and tell somebody? That's how sick these people are. And by the way, the name of the insurance company for the Archdiocese in New York that the Archdiocese is suing for not paying damages of $300 million for sexual abuse survivors is called Chubb Insurance. So, and then Cardinal Dolan, this is what blew my mind. I'm reading this story yesterday, doing this research. Cardinal Dolan actually said, pray for the victims and their families. How about the church stop abusing the victims and we wouldn't have to pray for them? How about that, Cardinal Timothy Dolan? Are you kidding me? Pray for the victims and their families because they went to your church and your priest sexually assaulted them? And you're saying to pray for them now? How about you stop sexually assaulting children? How about that? These people are nuts. Louisiana Archdiocese. Louisiana, ordered by a federal judge. They went to court. They took theirs a little further. They were ordered by a federal judge to pay $230 million in damages. So we have Louisiana paying $230 million to sexual abuse victims of the Catholic Church. We have New York paying $300 million to sexual abuse victims by the Catholic Church. And we have Los Angeles paying $880 million to sexual abuse victims of the Catholic Church. Do you see a pattern forming here? I don't understand how these people are still tax exempt. I don't know why people are still walking into these cesspool buildings of child predators. It's a cesspool of child predators. That's what the Catholic Church is. This is documented. And how are they just paying this money and continuing to go on as if nothing ever happened? Where are the arrests? Where are the arrests for destroying children's lives forever? These children will never be the same. They're never going to be the same. It don't work like that. But wait, there's more. Rochester, New York, paid $250 million. Syracuse, New York, paid $176 million. Do you see this? And all of these facts I just researched yesterday. Everyone can go and Google this. Look it up for yourselves. Catholic Church sexual abuse victims or damages, whatever you want to Google. So we're going to do an overview of what I've done in the last 3 or 4 days. And I do one of these videos every day. And I call every day. I call Riverside County. I call Washington, D.C. I send emails to Ro Khanna, Thomas Massey, Robert Garcia, Tom Cole, Mark Wayne Mullins, Anna Paulina Luna. I put in for federal casework every day. I call Oklahoma police detectives, intelligence agencies all the time. I don't call them every day. And nothing. They mock me. They ridicule me. Matter of fact, Riverside County Sheriff's Department, Sunday, I was calling for my son. They played George Michael's father figure just to mock me. Just father figure by George Michael. Just mocking me because they sell stolen children. And I told on them for selling stolen children. And I haven't seen or heard from my child since 2021. And this is the treatment I get. Yeah. So this is psychotic is not even the word for the level of mental derangement these people are suffering from. I've never seen anything like it. I've never in my life, I never even knew evil like this existed, let alone in the United States of America. I mean, if you told me about this in maybe Iraq, Somalia, Congo, I might be like, well, kind of a third world country. America, the United States of America? You gotta be kidding me. So, today is January 20th, 2026. And according to my research, and this is not to the day, this is to the year, give or take a couple years. This year, in 2026, we are commemorating 1 century of selling children by the United States government. Let me repeat that. 1 century, 100 years of the United States government selling children. And I have it all documented right here. I've documented it in previous shows, and we're going to do an overview right now. So in the 1920s is the earliest date that I can verify. The Georgetown, Tennessee Children's Home from the 1920s to the 1950s was running a black market for children. So right there, Georgetown and the Tennessee Children's Home, 1920s to 1950s, 30 years, they were running a black market for babies. And today, we covered the Catholics and the more than $5 billion they are paying to sexual abuse survivors and victims. We have the Epstein files not being released that implicate world leaders, Hollywood people, tech billionaires, everybody from all walks of life. Scientists, actors, musicians, presidents, prime ministers, all walks of life, raping underage children, the Epstein files. We have TPUSA, child sex trafficking, from Romania to Riverside, Pastor Rob McCoy. We have Greg Laurie of Harvest Church in Riverside County, 20 years trafficking children to Romania from Riverside County. And that's documented. They're in federal lawsuit right now over that. We have Hollywood. How long has Hollywood been doing this? Years. Judy Garland, children, Shirley Temple. You don't think these little children were abused? Cindy from the Brady Bunch, you don't think they were abused? Look at them now. Look at Macaulay Culkin, then and now. Look at Justin Bieber, then and now. Corey Haim, Corey Feldman. Look at these children being sexually exploited, sexually abused, trafficked, period. We have Oprah Winfrey, her Olag school in Africa, missing children. Oprah Winfrey, selling kids in Africa, living here in America. We have Erica Kirk, Romanian Angels, trafficking children in Romania. Guess who she was trafficking to? The United States military with Colonel Otto Buscher. Colonel Otto Buscher, United States military, trafficking children. We have Michael Aquino, United States military, founder of the Temple of Set, Satan worshiper. Guess what? San Francisco, trafficking and abusing children. Satan worshiper, self-pronounced Satan worshiper, and the high priest of the Temple of Set in San Francisco, which he founded. We have Nixon, Ford, Reagan, Bush, Trump, all connected to the Sun Myung Moon cult, the Moon cult from Korea. And from Korea, we have in Eugene, Oregon, the Whole Children's Services from 1956, trafficking children globally, 15 countries. So this Whole Children's Services that started in Korea when Sun Myung Moon was there in the 50s, now their headquarters is in Eugene, Oregon, and they are a global child trafficking organization servicing 15 countries from Eugene, Oregon. You're telling me there's that many children in Eugene, Oregon? What, do people drive from all over the country? We got people driving from Arkansas, Texas, Tennessee, Florida to go all the way to Eugene, Oregon to drop off children they don't want so they can be trafficked? I don't think so. We have Nightlight Christian Adoption from North Carolina, servicing 15 countries all around the world. North Carolina, High Point, North Carolina, population 114,000. So High Point, North Carolina, Nightlight Christian Adoption, selling children to 15 different countries from a town with a population of 114,000. Where are they getting these children? How are you getting all these children? We have the Barker Adoption from the 50s. And Nightlight Christian Adoption was from the 50s. Barker is actually 1945 when they were founded. Trafficking children worldwide. We got P. Diddy. P. Diddy was trafficking. Everybody knows that. He wasn't convicted for trafficking. He was convicted for domestic violence or something like that. They didn't even talk about child trafficking. Did you notice that? They didn't talk about all the children and the people flying all over the country with him, underage children flying all over the country for his sex parties to be his sex slaves. No, they were just worried about him beating up Cassie. That's what he was convicted on, if I'm not mistaken. Matter of fact, where are the 300,000 missing children from the border from when Biden was president? Anybody heard about them kids? I haven't heard anything. Haven't seen any kids. Has anybody seen or heard from those children? 300,000 children, just poof, gone. Why? Because they came to the United States. We have Paul Peterson, Maricopa County assessor, trafficking in pregnant women from the Marshall Islands, selling their babies to 3 different states. Convicted of that. He was actually convicted of that. And guess what's in Maricopa County? Erica Kirk, TPUSA. Their pastors are from Riverside County, but the organization's out of Maricopa County. We have Georgia Senator Nancy Schaefer. Google her speech at the Eagle Summit Conference in 2007, 2008, when she was talking about CPS is the world's largest child sex trafficking organization, a multi-billion-dollar business built on selling children. And the Safe Family Adoption Act and confidentiality laws make it to where they can do it and nobody's supposed to know about it. The confidentiality laws, because they're minors. See, anything pertaining to minors, it's confidential. Confidential. Can't talk about it because they're minors. It's illegal to talk about it because they're minors. That's how they're getting away with this sick, evil crap. Using the law to break the law. And have you noticed what they're doing with the law? Like the Wolf of Wall Street tax guy, the accountant who's been digging into TPUSA's fraudulent financial records and how it's just a scam, a money laundering organization. Guess what they did? Served him with a cease and desist letter, which is basically a threat to sue if you don't shut up. And that's all these people do. Shut up or we'll sue. Shut up or we'll sue. I'm not shutting up. I'm sick of this. I'm sick of watching children be abused, exploited, raped, kidnapped, sold. It happened to my son. I was there when he was kidnapped. I saw the damages when he was violently sexually assaulted, and I haven't seen or heard from my son since 2021 because I reported it to the FBI. And I didn't know the FBI was the most corrupt organization on planet Earth. I thought they stood for Federal Bureau of Investigation. Turns out it stands for Federal Bureau of Intimidation, because that's what they do. Intimidate you into silence. Don't believe me? Ask the Epstein survivors. Ask them what happened when they went to the FBI and reported child sex trafficking. Ask them. I guarantee you they were intimidated, harassed, followed, threatened. So that's the overview. We have the Catholics from today being paid $5 billion in damages to sexual abuse survivors, all the way back to the 1920s in Georgetown and the Tennessee Children's Home. So we have 100 years of this country selling, trafficking, and abusing children. And instead of stopping, or instead of even talking about it, or even making an effort to correct it, they just keep paying money to make it go away. They just keep paying money. The problem keeps getting worse and worse and worse. More and more children raped and abused. More and more money paid. We went from $2.6 billion by the Catholics in 2009 to over $5 billion now in 2025. Does anybody else see a problem with this? Because to me, this is inhumane. Literally, this is barbaric. I mean, this is like gladiator days. This is Genghis Khan type behavior. This is not what the modern world and a civilized society behaves like. No civilized society should be raping, selling, and trafficking its own children. That is ridiculous. Not only that, you're not going to have a society if you keep selling children. Because eventually you're going to run out of children to sell. That's what I think their goal is. I think they hate children, they hate people, and they just want to exterminate us. Like they look at us like roaches. You know, Brian Kilmeade on Fox News probably 2 or 3 months ago, when they were talking about the homeless crisis and the homeless people in Washington, D.C. and New York City, Brian Kilmeade on Fox News said that they should just mass murder the homeless. He said involuntary euthanization of the homeless is what needs to be done. Think about that for a minute. If you don't have any money, and I lived in a car for 3 years, not by choice. I was trying my hardest to get a job. I was being retaliated against by the FBI as they were punishing me for reporting child sex trafficking. So they falsified my background, wouldn't allow me to get a job, made me live in a car for 3 years. That's no fault of my own. All because I reported child sex trafficking by a state judge, Kelly Hansen, who has thousands of victims. 16 years Kelly Hansen has been trafficking children, kidnapping children, molesting children, selling children. But because he's got so many victims, and it's been going on for so long, their mentality is, we'll shut the one up to cover up for the many. That's a cult. That is a cult. And when we have mainstream news anchors, Brian Kilmeade, saying just mass murder the homeless, that tells you the level of humanity these people have, which is absolutely zero. Zero. When you can just kill innocent people just because they don't have money or a place to sleep, thank goodness Jesus Christ isn't alive today, or Brian Kilmeade from Fox News would want to murder him. Sound familiar? Maybe that's why he was hung by a cross 2,000 years ago. All because he wanted the people to act right. Stop stealing. Stop taking advantage. Stop lying in the churches. Stop using the churches to conduct evil. Isn't that what Jesus did? Didn't he go in the temples in Jerusalem, flip the tables over, and tell them, you made my Father's house of prayer into a den of thieves? And what'd they do? Nail him to a cross? So today we're going to close with a Bible verse, and it's going to be 1 John 4:1. We'll start there. Beloved, do not believe every spirit, but test the spirits, whether they are of God, because many false prophets have gone out into the world. By this you know the Spirit of God. Every spirit that confesses that Jesus Christ has come in the flesh is of God. And every spirit that does not confess that Jesus Christ has come in the flesh is not of God. And this is the spirit of the Antichrist, which you have heard was coming and is now already in the world. You are of God, little children, and have overcome them, because he who is in you is greater than he who is in the world. They are of the world, therefore they speak as of the world, and the world hears them. We are of God. He who knows God hears us. He who is not of God does not hear us. By this we know the spirit of truth and the spirit of error. And I've noticed that here lately. Baron Coleman talks about God a lot of people. And it seems like there's two types of people in the world right now. People who believe in Jesus Christ, people who truly believe in God and are trying to do right and speaking out against this evil and the lies and the deceit. And then there's people like Caroline Levitt, Emily Compagno, all of these, Erica Kirk, wearing crosses on their neck, and they speak about God while they're doing evil. This has been going on for 2,000 years, ladies and gentlemen. It's the same game. People hiding behind God to do evil. That's what the Catholic Church is doing. That's what TPUSA is doing. That's what the United States government is doing. That's what the military is doing. The list goes to Hollywood. It goes on and on and on. So tomorrow, I will be looking into the Mormon Church tonight. I haven't covered them yet. So I started to do a little research, and I didn't like what I saw already. The Mormon Church, a lot of sexual abuse in that. religion, if you want to call it that. So I want to remind everyone today is day 1,594 since my son was kidnapped and violently sexually assaulted, and the United States government retaliates against me and punishes me for reporting child sex trafficking to the United States government, which is the purpose of these videos, because I've had enough. I've had enough of the lies. I've had enough of the abuse. I've just had enough. And I think a lot of people are with me. So I ask that you please like, share, and subscribe this video. I'll keep telling the truth, and I'm not going to stop no matter what. So thank you for tuning in. Have a good night.